The series that's as real as any TV show can get is back with all new episodes. Bomb Patrol Afghanistan, only on G4.
No, I actually do like Sony. Hello, everybody. Back from PAX. Thank you to all of you that came and said nice things, be it at a signing or at our really, really fun panel that we did on Sunday. It does make everything very worthwhile when you see that there are people laughing and they're going hi. So once again, thank you very much. I'm not going to talk about PAX. We know what PAX is. It's where people get together and they're very nice and games are played. I want to talk about something I saw this morning. The fact that Sony's posting a rather sizable loss. This is Sony corporate, not Sony Computer Entertainment America. And it's $6.8 million. It's like 300 million yen. It's a lot of money, and they've been having a rough year. Obviously, they were heavily impacted by the tsunami and then those horrible floods that were in Thailand because they had a lot of manufacturing that was based in that company. I mean, they just kind of got hit from all sides. Also, the yen's very strong, and so the televisions that should be the core of their business, a little bit too expensive when compared to stuff coming out of Korea, like Samsung. Anyway, it's interesting to see that, and unfortunately, they've already had to lay off people. They're saying about 10,000 jobs. That's, even for a company that big, that's a lot, and that's just tough. I've always liked Sony, despite what many of you out there seem to think, but at the same time, I've seen them make some decisions that just leave me a little bit baffled why they would kind of get in front of themselves so much. Well, they have a new chairman, and it's Kazuo Hirai, who I remember interviewing him back at the launch of the PlayStation 2 when he was running Sony Computer Entertainment America. That's one hell of a trajectory, and it's quite impressive. I think there's many things that are exciting about him taking control of Sony. He's worked on both sides of the Pacific. And one of the biggest problems that we've seen coming from Sony is that there's an entrenched mentality in the Japanese base, and another one that's in America, or the sort of the America-European base. And sometimes it's at loggerheads. And that's why sometimes, well, not sometimes, we got it with the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. You had these systems that had a great deal of potential, but also weren't very friendly. The PS2 should be seen as one of the greatest compromises in technology. The PS3, it's just almost too much. The cell processor was, it was an impressive, very impressive chip, but it wasn't very easy for developers to figure out how to use it, how to maximize it. We have some beautiful games for the PlayStation 3, but most of them come from Sony, and there were always those problems about trying to have a game that could play both on the 360 and on the PS3, and it led to what felt like more of a paucity of games for a Sony system than we have seen in the past, as well as third-party games that, for the most part, seem to have problems, be it frame rate, be it load times, be it a number of things. And while this is only rumor, there is that sense that they may not be using the cell processor in the next Sony console. I think there's a lot of credibility to this. This might be why we're also hearing rumors about no backwards compatibility, because those things would preclude one another. But that means they're getting more consumer-minded. Ken Kutaragi, genius, brilliant man, but also seemed to almost have a paternalistic, if not patronizing attitude towards the consumers out there. If people remember some of his more notorious statements about the PlayStation 3, which was that people should expect to work longer hours to be able to afford it. Maybe that sounds better in the original Japanese, but man, that is not one of the best things you should say out there. And then in addition, he made a comment, I think, about the PSP, about it being the most beautiful thing in the world. A little alienating from time to time. And I've always found Kazuo to be very consumer-minded. And I think with that idea that you want to be able to offer a lot to the consumer and not at too high a price, and the fact that they might be using an off-the-shelf or some modified off-the-shelf chipset from ATI, or maybe it's NVIDIA or somebody else out there, really sounds like they're focusing on trying to keep the cost down and trying to be as accommodating to developers as I think Microsoft has been, with an architecture that they're already familiar with. I think also what's going to be working in their favor, as I said last week, everything really looks that the new Microsoft console and the new Sony console will be coming out in the same year, and they're not going to lose that extra year of sales as they did in the last generation. I like Sony. I also like competition in the marketplace. And one thing that Sony has been so good with the PS3 is their willingness to invest in interesting IPs, ones that don't exactly scream, I'm going to make money. Heavy Rain, Journey, games like that. And I really think that they're valuable and essential to kind of broaden that conversation and see what possibilities are in interactive entertainment. And I would love to see that reach a larger base of gamers out there. And, you know, it's going to come down to some of the things that, once again, I do believe Cosmo probably understands, which is online connectivity. They cannot be behind the curve. I think they're going through some painful moments right now, but I think what's most impressive is when I was young, when I thought of Sony, I thought of the Walkman. I did think of Sony televisions, and it was really in that era where the Japanese economy was so strong, and you were just kind of in awe of all Japanese products. And you know, they've kind of fallen on some much harder times right now. And when they first announced the original PlayStation, there was no E3. It was at CES, and there was so much skepticism that who was Sony to know how to move into this market that only Sega and Nintendo has been in? And then they went and dominated it. And now I'm reading the paper this morning, and there's a bunch of analysts saying Sony needs to dump that television business and all that electronic stuff. They should focus on their entertainment, games and movies. Wow, the times have changed.